So we're here for World Menstruation Day, a really important day that's in the calendar of international events and stuff. And it's been interesting to see what's been going on around the world today. And I've been joined by Zinfia Ganeshkapan, good friend of mine. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, John.
Good, good. Now, obviously, people will be aware of you and the work that you do with the Zinfia Trust and the community shop and stuff. It's very prominent here in Leicester and stuff. But you've always been very passionate about, one, where you're from, Sri Lanka,
yes.
The work that you've done with an organisation, which we can talk about in Nepal as well, and particularly period poverty, access to that kind of stuff, and also the fact that, you know, these products actually are quite expensive here, but also in some of these countries that you want to help, like Sri Lanka and Nepal. So tell me a little bit about World Menstruation Day, where it fits in with your sort of bigger agenda with the things that you're interested in.
So, like you very correctly said, Menstruation Day is an important day for us because, you know, half the world's population are female and the majority of them will be menstruating at least for 40 years of their life, if you put it into simple fact. But saying that, and it's a very basic need, and it's a biological part of being a woman. But saying that, the world is also facing massive crisis with regards to female and girls facing a period poverty, which is unacceptable. Because I think, for me, at least, I think menstruation is not a choice that I make. It's a natural thing that happens. And to be stigmatized on that grounds or to have inequality is unacceptable. And that is what I think ever since I grew up, and I have, like you said, I'm from Sri Lanka, and I have seen the impact of period poverty on girls while I was growing up, but equally even today. And that is what I want to work more and more. Now, again, I think most of my work with the Zinfia Trust have been local, but saying that period poverty is not only an issue globally, it is also an issue here in Leicester. And that is why I think since we set up the Zinfia Trust, or even since like 2014, 2015, we have been continuously working on minimizing period poverty, and because we work with some of the disadvantaged women and girls in our community. So from time to time, we had different schemes, but providing free period products have been a massive part of the work that we do. And then in 2019, I also introduced the P card. That is where women and girls can have access to low-cost period products through the community shop. So that has been continuing, and I'm throughout my travels to like in Nepal and things, I've understood more about the impact of period poverty on those women and girls, and have been working with projects in Nepal, Sri Lanka, and continue to do that work as of to date.
Yeah, and it's looking at sort of, you know, the various products and stuff like you've got here in the box that we can talk about in a minute, you know, so it is also that things like about, you know, being able to make the pads themselves that are kind of reusable. There's kind of, you know,
yes.
real thinking about what's best for that particular community. It's
yes.
not always about buying this and sending it somewhere. Sometimes it's actually supporting organizations to make the products themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for example, like I think I'm a firm believer, like local solutions to local problems, because for us, it is very easy to sit here and judge people and say, oh, they're not doing the right thing. But bear in mind, people like in places such as Sri Lanka, Nepal, India, I mean, or any other parts of the world, women and girls live in abject poverty. And they can't afford some of these products that we have on the shelf. Like, for example, a packet of pads in Sri Lanka will cost us 200 rupees. Now that is, here in the UK, it's just a pound, but that's a lot of money for a family.
Wages,
it's a day's wage for someone. It's the same if you talk in India or Nepal or other parts of the world. So that is a problem. And then imagine if you have like 3-4 girls living in a family, and how are they going to afford that? So, and do we stigmatize women for not having access to those products that we sell here on the supermarket? So my aim is to educate women and girls about not just about period products, but also about menstrual hygiene. So to support them to use what they use, but in a more hygienic way. So for example, in many parts of Sri Lanka, traditionally women use the cloth. So, but what happens in the same, like 5 family members will use the same cloth, which is very unhealthy. But showing them how to use it in a better way, in a more sustainable way, but also disposing it in a more sustainable way, and educate them through that and prevent gynecological related problems.
Because these things all kind of roll on in other ways, don't they?
In other ways, yes. And also changing the cloth at least 3 to 4 times a day, using clean cloth, how to wash it hygienically, how to dry it. I mean, those are simple things that you could adapt, and enabling them rather than stigmatizing them for not having the latest technology or the latest product. So finding local solutions to local problems.
It also seems to me that one of the key things around it, as in not only the normalizing the conversation around it and the access to the products and stuff like that, is it's then, once it's just part of everyday life, that men accept that as well, that kind of, the normalization of the fact that, it's the person's got their period, you sort of get on with it. Like, I mean, where do you think you came from? So I think I said that at one of the events that we did, was like, I've got 2 boys, and I said to them, this is where you came from your mum, and this is what periods are. It's kind of, get on with it. That's what that's going to be. Is the fact that then it's about ensuring access to education, access to work, those kind of things, all that are not stopped by the fact that once a month that you become almost like untouchable to an extent.
So for example, like you said earlier, we need to educate men about this, because what happens is, most of the part, even here in this country, even right now here in Leicester, I mean, in majority of the families, men holds the economic power. And therefore women are dependent on men to support and provide. So if men don't understand, or men don't believe that periods is an important role in women's life, then of course women are going to be deprived of that financial ability to purchase this product. That's one part of it. But equally, when you stigmatize menstruation, or then this either beliefs such as you're untouchable, you're unclean, you shouldn't be going into a temple, or you shouldn't be, like in Nepal, in some places, putting them out in the outside and during when women are menstruating, then those kind of practices will end, because those practices continue because of the patriarchal structures that governs women's lives and stigmatize menstruation. But also girls are scared to go to school, or feeling ashamed during menstruation and things like that, because when they are in mixed classes and things, they get, boys would joke at them, or laugh at them if they have a stain on their clothes, uniforms and things like that. So I think that is why it is important to educate men and boys too, but also normalize it. And then it's nothing to be ashamed. Here in Leicester, we carried out a survey in 2019. We have made, I think over 70% of the women said that they have never had that talk with even with their daughters, the first period talk. So if our young girls are not prepared, then what would happen? They would go to school, they would learn from their peers, which are most of the time, which are not scientific things, because that's what children tell each other. Or you shouldn't swim during menstruation, you shouldn't go to that's what
you'll get pregnant off a toilet seat, all that good stuff.
So which we learn from children. They're children, and they're about to talk about these things. So that's what happens. So I think that is the whole aim of the work that we do. Is one thing is to prevent period poverty, but also to reduce the stigma around it, and give the tools for women as well as men and girls and boys to talk in open and challenge those myths that exist within our cultures.
Now, over all the years that I've known you, obviously you've always been passionate and committed to these issues, and anyone that knows you will know that for a fact. And you've always been a great advocate of it through the Zinfia Trust and the Period Poverty Project that we've done with the boxes as well, people donating things to boxes. Now you've taken that interest of the place in Sri Lanka that you've always supported, and obviously Nepal, and you've actually set up a new community interest company called Bare Earth. So tell us a little bit about the new website and the new Facebook and stuff like that. It's lovely to see it. It's great to see.
I think my mission is, I think you might have heard, or many people have heard, I don't like sticking plasters on a problem. I want to get to the root causes of it. But also, and that is why we set up the community shop, because as a result of the food banks, we knew it was not a sustainable mechanism. We introduced the P card because we knew it was not a sustainable mechanism to give things free to people, because I can give you free things today, but what's going to happen to you tomorrow? It's the same. I don't believe in sending products from here to Kenya or to Sri Lanka or to Nepal or anywhere, because I will send them today, but what am I teaching them by that? And I'm not finding a solution locally for a local problem. And that is what we set up Bare Earth. So Bare Earth is a subscription model. Anyone can purchase a subscription either for themselves, or they can subscribe to support another girl or a woman who is disadvantaged and living in certain communities. It doesn't matter. It doesn't always have to be Nepal or Sri Lanka, because I am increasingly working with other parts of the world with partners. So they could subscribe, and the revenue that we generate through that subscription, we will go to the ground where we will run educational classes, but also support women again to make their own products or use the traditional methods that they use, but in a more sustainable manner.
Because also, I think the thing that's interesting about that, because of the locations that you're talking about, so, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and places that have a lot of problems with sustainability, recycling, plastic, and all that sort of stuff. And again, as always, we in the developed world, we tend to blame the people saying, well, why aren't you recycling? And you go, well, hang on, you've just sent us this, it's all wrapped in plastic. I mean, all of this stuff has wrappings and stuff like that. Yeah. So actually making more organic products like towels and stuff like that. One, there's the employment side of it, but there's also the sustainability, because there's not the waste every month that's going in.
Yes. So now, again, if you take Sri Lanka has ample sunshine. Nepal, so drying the napkins or the cloth is not a problem. But to do that, we need to first break that stigma around, because, for example, I did a research, and actually I did a big book chapter which was supposed to come out today, but because currently the printers are in India and they just couldn't print the book on time because of the current. So many women said, okay, when they wash the cloth, they put it in dark corners because they are ashamed that someone else would see. Why? So my question is, no, if I break the stigma and train them to think the way, then that would solve the problem. We don't have to go into this plastic and all artificial material. But equally, like you said, we are very quick to blame the others and tell them
too quick to blame people.
And equally, and then we say whatever the Western concept we have, we try to impose on them. That's not right, because those cultures have lived like that for generations. And not to say that what they do, everything is right, but they've survived. And we need to enable them to do it better and prevent the crisis that we're facing now. One is the plastic crisis, the plastic going into waste or to the sea and all that kind of thing, but also poverty. If women don't have access to these sophisticated things that we are trying to impose on them, they will always be in poverty, because there will always be inequality, us versus them.
I think also people, particularly when I talk to a lot of students about issues around the global south and helping people to sort of, particularly help themselves and not imposing things on them, it also comes down to, one, there's the education side of it as well, but there's always looked at, solving global poverty, is a big macro issue. And, unless all of the governments or maybe all of the billionaires that don't pay their tax, then we can solve it. So the only way to do it is to deal with a micro problem with a micro solution. And that is, if someone subscribed to one of these, even if it's not for themselves, but being able to pay it forward to someone that's in this environment, you're actually making a difference and actually helping to do something, aren't you?
Yeah. So I think traditionally, we always wait for someone else to solve the problem, or expect the governments, expect the local authorities or the billionaires to come forward to make change. Change doesn't happen that way. Change happens at grassroots level. From every single one of us can make that change happen. And I'm a firm believer about what Cynthia Enlow says: the local becomes the global. If we make change happen in our own little community, and then we support another woman, that woman will go on to support another woman, but even a man for that matter. So we sort of multiply the impact of what we do by supporting each other.
Yeah. Now let's talk about the locations there. In Sri Lanka, it's a school that's on a
So-
plantation, isn't it?
So it's just not one school. I like the photos that are on the, that's what we have been doing. So plantations, then I support a regular donation goes to another school in a place called Mundragal. That's a deaf and blind school, so disabled children. And then in Kandy area, in the plantations, so many places in Sri Lanka. In Nepal, I've also, we were about to set up a project in India, but then unfortunately COVID impacted in the rural areas of Nepal. So, sorry, in India, so places like that. But then recently, I also spoke to somebody who's running a project who is sending products from UK to Kenya. And I said, okay, let's find a better solution to that rather than. So we're working across part and increasingly looking to work with more partners in different parts of the world, but every little thing starts from your local community.
Absolutely, people being able to subscribe and help or get involved,
Yes.
or maybe even reaching out and getting in touch and saying, well, actually, I'm interested in helping in this way, or my business has got an international concept angle to it, and we're looking to do something with our corporate social responsibility, which is helping to pay that forward. So any people are willing to get in touch and for you to have a conversation with them.
So the whole concept about the subscription services is a simple £3.50 is the minimum subscription. That's 1 cup of coffee.
Yeah,
you can make somebody's change.
Will make a real difference. And of course, the products come in. You've obviously put a lot of time and effort into thinking this, and also educating people as well. I think with statistics, 1 in 7 women in the UK suffer from period poverty, up to 5 million globally. Well, you're starting to be able to make a difference then, aren't you?
So it's not only the subscription services, so and also like maybe there's organizations who can support us by purchasing the products like individually, such as the disposable bags and many other products. Yeah, so this is the start of a journey, and there will be many more things happening.
Good. So we've got the Bare Earth, BEAR Earth, bareearth.org is the website. And also you've got a Facebook page as well, where we're going to be putting some.
We're on Instagram.
Instagram as well?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, great. Lovely. Thanks for talking to me.
Thank you so much.